I am the kind of person that can often build up expectations in my head. If I think about things too long, I find myself getting disappointed. But thankfully, when it came to the Summer I Turned Pretty finale, I didn't do this, and it delivered on every single point that I needed it to, and then some. I said it from the beginning, but this show was going to end the minute Belly made her choice of who she was going to be with. Beyond like a few like closing remarks or like closing shots, that's how the show was always going to end. But what I thought was really beautiful about this finale episode is it could have very easily been rushed. It could have very easily been like, let's tie up all the bows, let's time skip, jump, hop, cut through the episode as much as possible, give you a montage wedding at the end, bing bong boom, everyone's happily ever after, never approach the story again. And obviously there are things we know about now that we had no clue about before Wednesday. But for me, had that news of the movie, which we'll get to, had never come, this finale was so satisfying to me. Both storylines, whether it was like Belly and Conrad in Paris or the rest of the crew back in Cousins, really asked you to like take a moment, step into the story, be present in the moment. And the episode does that by taking place over the course of basically 24 hours. And I think that's what really was needed to feel like this finale wasn't rushed and hurried and or missing elements. To me, it felt like a true story of what Jenny Han wanted to expand upon. Because if you're not aware, I'll say it for the last and final time, I guess, the book ends, Belly and Jeremiah call off their wedding. It jumps to several years later where Belly and Conrad are getting married. It's their wedding day. And then after that, we get to read what Conrad's letters are. But there's literally no explanation as to how Belly and Conrad romantically end up back together. And so Jenny Han had almost created for herself this perfect sandbox to play in where nobody had any clue what was going to happen. In this season finale, she could spend detail on that journey of Belly and Conrad getting back together. And for me, that's worth it every time. Like little moments between them in this episode were some of the best in the entire series, which is crazy to say because the series is like, I love it so much and it's so beautiful. There were genuinely moments in this episode I never could have anticipated, but I cannot imagine not having now. I can't imagine if this episode was just their wedding, period, end of story. Like this is so much more interesting and rich. To me, a couple of the things, just to quickly run through them, that really grabbed me were like the way they played with Benito, because we had a certain knowledge of the situation. Belly had the most knowledge of the situation, but we weren't quite sure what she knew. We knew a little bit more than Conrad, which created tension there because we feel for him so much when we think he thinks that Belly and Benito are still together. But then they had the amazing banter of, I never said he was my boyfriend and all these things. You also get to explore Belly and Conrad, not just like jumping back and like having another love confession and then being together forever, but genuinely getting to see them flirting, having this tension, this I still love you and you still love me, but like, are we going to admit that to one another? Are we going to acknowledge that about one another? Or are we just going to kind of play this game of like two people who are playing as strangers despite the fact that they have so much history between them, which is such an amazing dynamic on screen when people have as much chemistry as Lola Tung and Christopher Briney do, and they're acting like, God, their performances were so perfect this episode. Like, Emmys... Listen, I know you're probably not going to give it to this show, but you really need to. I also think the excellent part, which I'll dive into a little bit deeper when I get to the whole dress segment of this video, them falling back into one another and Belly still having her doubts, to me is a really interesting way of not cutting the romance off at the knees, at least for me anyway. It doesn't like stop or halt anything, but it's actually asking these characters to really dig deep and think through a couple different elements before rushing back into something and making a forever decision. And to me, Belly having her doubts about getting back together with Conrad when she never had doubts about getting with Jeremiah in the first place, to me shows the level of love that they have for one another, because she realizes like she needs this to be real. She needs Conrad to not love her because of Susannah or because of Laurel or because of being jealous of Jeremiah, and like she needs to know that he loves her for her and that she loves him and that's okay, and she doesn't have to be a completely different person just because all these like events that have been hurtful or painful have transpired, and that she's grown and changed and gone on from that like you can forgive yourself, other people can forgive you, and you can still want the things that you used to want, the things you used to picture. And I think that's just such a complex emotion for this character to go through. This story is a coming of age story. It's not a romance story in the way that like To All the Boys I've Loved Before is a romance story. Again, I love that. I'm not trying to shade that. But I think in this story specifically, in the way that Jenny Han has chosen to change it from the book slightly, has been about Belly's growth. Belly becoming a woman, becoming an independent person, knowing who she is and choosing who she wants to be. And so she has always sort of felt this season like this pull and this sway to her emotions about these two boys in her life. And in this moment when she finally has Conrad, who she knows she's loved, that she's given up other things because she has this love for him, she has to kind of sit there and acknowledge who she wants to be. And she makes that choice to realize, you know what, like, what am I who am I to think that I'm so much better than going after this thing I said I always wanted, and this thing that I do still feel in my heart of loving Conrad and being with him. So again, we'll get to a little bit more later, but I think her having the doubts makes the final I love you, the confession, them being together, it makes it feel so earned to me. We've been through so much this season, but getting to see Belly kind of grapple with her emotions of loving Conrad and the changes she's undergone is very much what Conrad has done this whole season. And while, yes, we're not seeing Belly like yearn after Conrad in the same way he yearned for her all season, basically, we do get a little bit of that. And to me, that is what makes that twist. And yes, it feels like a pain in the gut. And yes, I was pissed at Belly in the moment. But when I really think about it from a story perspective, it feels honest and it feels messy the way that this story has always been messy and Belly has always been messy. And I just really love that. Once she's gotten over it in her head, this final like physical struggle to like get to a certain place where he is. I just loved that, and I like the pressure cooker of it. I love when things like this happen at like an airport or a train station. It feels so romance movie, and they gave that to us in a way that, again, if they had just gone after the book ending, we would not have felt that in the same way. And I feel so grateful that Jenny Han was so open to expanding her own story that is so beloved and is the reason she got the show made in the first place. But the fact that she's willing to go after what she thinks is best for the characters and best serving the story rather than just fan service. Like, I just think our world of entertainment is craving this right now, of someone who has a creative vision and not just giving people what they want to see or hear or doing fan service, because I love fan service. I love an Easter egg, but like giving me something that's original and new, even from an adapted story like this, is like so amazing to me. They continued to pull us in too with the other storylines. I'm obviously going to focus so much on Belly and Conrad because that is like literally the thing that has defined my life for the last like 2 months. But Stephen and Taylor's relationship, they add this sense of foreshadowing of, hey, just because you got the love confession, just because you're together now, does not mean that happily ever after comes without conflict. I think people allow Taylor in this instance to be so much messier than they want Belly to be. They want Belly to be this perfect person who is like worthy of Conrad's like desperate yearning. But they're both messy characters, and Conrad is messy and so is Stephen. And so like to me, the Stephen and Taylor realizing they want to like move across the country together, and that maybe is a little crazy, but they're going to do it anyway because they love each other so much and they're committed to one another. To me, that's the foreshadowing of Belly and Conrad figuring out how to make it work while Belly still lives in Paris and Conrad is still in medical school. They've just been so honest about the way they portray love to me, and I really appreciate that. And then with Denise and Jeremiah finally getting together, that was such a compelling thing because there were so many moments where I was like, are they going to kiss? Is somebody going to say something? And I was just kind of like leaning in like, okay, I'm happy Jeremiah's grown. I kind of feel like he's earned this. Are they going to give it to us? Are they not? Are they going to like leave him being alone? And same with his business, like the conflicts going on there of like, oh, he's finally gotten to this point where he's like actually doesn't want something to go wrong. He's not moping. He's not sad. He's not waiting for people to come to him. He's like actively pursuing something, and how much growth that has for that character, and how it does feel earned when he gets the I'm proud of you from Adam, how it does feel earned when he kisses Denise and they like realize they have these feelings for each other. Every element of this episode was compelling. It added elements of conflict that put the final development of these characters into like direct focus. And it is what makes me, if I'm being completely honest, a little bit nervous for the movie because I feel like so many of the characters have come so far. Now, granted, Belly and Conrad being together in Paris has removed them from the rest of the friend group, who obviously are going to have some type of feelings, and or just like having a friend group of now like 3 different couples, people moving to different places in the country potentially in the movie. That's probably enough conflict in and of itself. I really just don't want the movie to be cheapened I'm glad that there probably won't be a love triangle. I'm glad that everyone is at least at this point in their development process to really allow the movie to be like, yes, have conflict, be interesting, have a plot, but still ultimately like give us the happily ever after epilogue that I think we all want it to be. However, every time I think that I have that slight doubt, I remember how much I trust Jenny Han for not only directly adapting her book, but also allowing for changes. Like, there hasn't been a change in this series that I wasn't like crazy about in this show. And I feel like I love the show so much that I can't imagine myself having qualms about the movie, especially because the show already gave me what I wanted, which is Belly and Conrad back together. So let's get back to that. I'm just going to refer to this entire segment of the episode as the dress segment. I don't know how else to talk about it. First of all, if you've seen my reaction to this episode, I had no anticipation of this scene. Like, I did not think that this scene was going to happen. I feel like I had maybe seen something about someone saying something about like an intimacy coordinator in Paris, but at that point I'd already kind of chalked up in my brain that some of the Jeremiah scenes might be fake, that they might be like tricking us in the way that certain things played out or what scenes were real. And that definitely ended up being true because all of Jeremiah's scenes that were filmed in Paris were to throw people off. They were all fake. We all might have realized this a little bit sooner, but it's definitely been confirmed now. They're not a part of the movie. They are fake. Like, they were completely designed to throw the fans off, which I'm obsessed with the fact that they did that. I think that's so iconic. I just think that's so fun. I had no clue about this dress scene, and holy cow, to me, it is one of the times in a show where I'm like, this type of scene was necessary because of how much desire and love is between these two characters and how much they have resisted their own feelings, how much they have denied themselves, like, access to the other person essentially, by like literally moving across to different parts of the world so they don't have to like deal with these feelings. How much this season has dealt with that pull and that string and that connection between them. And now you're finally in a situation where like this string is close together, like what is going to happen? And to me, it was so significant because it's not just two people kissing and then fall into one another. It's two people who have so much love and history for each other, and that love is inherent to who each of them are as characters, that they're just consumed by the other person, essentially, that they are overcome with the need to be with that person, to be close to them, to tell them how they feel, and it just takes over both of them in this way that I think is like obviously so fun in Girl World. Like, if you've seen any of the bar reactions to this scene of the episode, it's crazy. I can't imagine what that feeling must have been like to watch these scenes unfold like in an environment where everyone is freaking out around you, because I was stunned and screaming in my own home. What is so wonderful about this moment is because it's all consuming, because it's this thing that's like feels inevitable in a way. Like, this crashing of these two characters together feels inevitable. Not only just this whole episode with all the flirting at the dinner and her wishing for him and the callbacks and parallels to prior seasons, but like the entire show together really feels like it's leading up to this moment of like, will they, won't they, like what's gonna happen? And to me, this inevitability of it all is kind of what leads to Belly's doubts, which I've sort of touched on. But to me, it's this feeling of, if she has this new life, but this inevitable thing has always happened, does this mean she's given into the past and given up this person that she is now? And I think what she realizes over the scene, you know, very quickly, obviously, to then chase Conrad down, is the fact that if she gives into her heart, she's no longer afraid of getting hurt anymore. She wants to follow her heart. She wants to go after the things she wants and be confident about those things. That's the person she's become in Paris. But it's also this acknowledgement of potentially in her head, like this feeling of stepping back and giving into something that is not like an active choice of hers, but something that she feels like she can't control, which is always how she's been about her feelings to Conrad. It's something that is just part of her that she can't control, and that both of them have tried to like abandon this love for one another at different points in time. And I feel like the song is such a needy, desire-filled song, and it's about a person who is not just a best friend to you, but like specifically someone that you love, that you're attracted to, that you have this romance with. It's desperate in a way, and I really loved that, and God, it was so good. Like, all of it was just so well shot and filmed, and oh my God, the chemistry was amazing. The lines of like, I dream of this, oh my God. I don't know that I will ever be over this scene, because I think it just captures it's such a payoff too when you have had an entire season of Conrad wanting Belly and like wanting to be with her. And then you have this moment where he does, and he like quite literally can't control himself. Like, I just think it's so, oh my God, it's so good. The whole episode is great. They're flirting, they're bantering, they're having callbacks, they have sexy eye contact, things are getting steamy. And then all of a sudden, Conrad says, I'm never leaving you alone forever, basically. And Belly kind of has this freak out because the last person who said he was gonna be with her forever was Jeremiah. But with Jeremiah, it was this person who had like so much need and grief and things. And what's ironic is like Conrad avoided being with Belly because of his grief. He didn't want to drag her down. He didn't want to hurt her. Ultimately, he obviously did, because it's unavoidable to hurt people. Duh, that's what the show has been trying to tell us this whole time. But when Conrad says it, it feels like she's backsliding. It feels like all these things that she's learned about how love should be and how she should be and who she wants to be, it feels like this backsliding to her. And I think that's why she has that freak out, because she's only just now, this same night, this birthday at 22, realized, I'm not the villain. We've all hurt each other. And obviously what's so great about this is all of these conversations have been had with Conrad, who's the person who can like tell her these things and rehash these things with her with so much love and care. And she like is not afraid to be herself in these conversations and say what she feels honestly. She spent a year basically abandoning her life after this relationship where she felt like she lost herself. And I think what she panics with is she feels like, I've lost myself in Conrad before. If I just fall into this, am I going to forget all these things? And or is Conrad going to forget him the way that Jeremiah forgot himself? And I just think there's all of these things going through her head and this panic of this moment after that initial like desire is gone away with. But I think what she very quickly, thank God, realizes is, why am I denying the person that I am? Like, this whole journey of coming to Paris was about self-discovery, figuring out who I am and putting myself first. And like, what was the point of all of that if I'm just going to throw it away now because it just like, maybe it's not right. Like, I'm too in my head about it. This is literally the man I called my wedding off for. This is literally the man I've been in love with since I was 12 for 10 years of my life. I have to go after this. And I think what's also so beautiful is that like Junior Mint and the Infinity Necklace and all these like symbols of their relationship play such a role in this moment in discovery for her. She says like basically her deepest, darkest fear, which is that Conrad only loves her because his mother basically told him to. Like, that is not the kind of thing that you admit to somebody that you don't care what the answer is. You know what I'm saying? And so again, does it suck when you're initially first watching the episode and you don't know what's going to happen when you hear Belly say that and you're like, what the hell, girl? Like, what do you mean, Belly? What do you mean? In hindsight, knowing how it ends, rewatching the episode, to me, it's so honest of a moment for her to say to him, this is my deepest, darkest fear, basically, and like, I have to address this. And when she basically is being too stubborn to accept his answer or communicate properly, he is like, I can't subject myself to this. I can't stay here and like, all of my pride is gone at this point. All of it is gone. Like, I have come here, I've bared my soul to you. Now I have to basically leave. Thankfully, he doesn't have to do that, and she finds him. But I love is how adult this reunion for them feels, because so much has transpired. They have grown up. They are adults now, when compared to like when they kiss on the beach in the end of season 1 and they are together then. That is very much this innocent beginning of a relationship, and like, you don't know the ways in which you can hurt somebody. After all this time has passed, when she finds him on the train and is able to say like, this is never going away for me too. I choose you in infinite realities and infinite worlds. Like, it's always you're always going to be the choice to me. I did know that back then, and I do know it now. And like, I'm accepting that. It's just, it's so wonderful. It's so beautiful. And I get so emotional because the show, these two characters know each other so well. They can tell when the other is lying. They can tell when the other is hurt. And it's like this just culmination of this moment where like all these little things from their past play a role. And she has the Infinity Necklace, and when he touches it, it's this beautiful moment because he remembers being like 18 years old, giving her this necklace. Now here they are like half a decade later, finally like recognizing the significance of these things that they knew when they were younger, but there's a level of depth to them now that wasn't there then. Even though like the feelings are the same, you almost don't realize how much you meant them in the beginning until they have developed some meaning. They've been tarnished a little bit in a way. I could cry. I love it so much. And that's, yeah, to me, that's the reasons I've always been Team Conrad. This is just what feels inevitable to me. This is what feels right. Feels like the direction the story was always heading. And the finale really honors that in a way that is so beautiful and that I love so much. And honestly, like I said, I would have been satisfied with just this finale, but the movie, I sat on my couch for like half an hour afterwards, just like not even knowing how to feel. Like I couldn't even be fully emotional about the episode at the time because I was just so excited. I'm selfishly so happy because the joy that this series has brought me this summer and the joy that you all have brought me in this community, like it's something I don't know how to describe and I don't know that I ever will. Like I could not be more grateful for this fandom, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And to all of you, I really appreciate all of your support, all of your comments, and I'm really happy we don't have to ever really say goodbye about this series because it will always live on, but like specifically for these next 2 years until we probably get this movie. That makes me so happy. I guess a few facts about the movie. It's not coming out in 2026. They just finished a first draft. I know that the cast is probably going to be in it, but I don't know that they're all specifically confirmed for it. I'm assuming they are, but who's to say? Because I don't know how you have a Bonrad wedding without like all this other cast of characters. I'm guessing 2027 because they're still gonna have to finish writing, filming it, and then obviously it coming out. But I'm guessing summer 2027, and I'm so excited for it. Summer 2025, until we return to Cousins again, will always be the summer that Belly chose Conrad, but it will also always be the summer that we all let ourselves fall in love again and that we got to celebrate that together. And that's something I'm never gonna forget. Thank you all. If you have listened to me emotionally yap for probably what's half an hour video, I would love if you subscribed and continued this fangirl journey. I'll continue to talk about this show. In fact, I've already considered potentially rewatching it on the channel, so if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe, definitely let me know in the comments. But the biggest thing I'm going to be tackling next is watching Gilmore Girls for the first time, hoping to bring all this analysis and detail that I've brought to The Summer I Turned Pretty to that series that is so beloved that I've never seen before and feels like such a blind spot for me. And obviously as the seasons change, like that feels like a natural step. So I hope you'll join me on that journey. And if you do, I will see you in my very next video. Thank you so much again for watching. Bye, y'all.